Thiani, founder of Plush Living, and with me is Nikhil Kulkarni, the CTO of Book Technologies, and we're here to talk about Web3 in the travel space. And I'm personally deeply involved in both industries. Nikhil also has a background in the tech space as a consultant, and now, of course, in the travel space as well. This is a really exciting topic, and I know we're just a few of us, but this is truly cutting edge. Web3, as we know, is coming for the world. It's taking over slowly but surely different industries and lots of use cases. Web3 still needs, as Satya Nadella recently said, Web3 still needs its ChatGPT moment. But let's start. How many of you guys are familiar with Web3 technologies and the Web3 tools? Just one? Two. Okay, not bad. 2 out of 20 odd. So cool. So let's get started. Perhaps for the benefit of the rest of them, and we'll try and answer some of your questions if you have those as well. Nikhil, there's been a lot of talk on Web3 in the past couple of years. Those following the industry are familiar with blockchain technology, decentralization, but what does this mean for the average person? Because for the average person, this is just Latin and Greek.
Yeah, sure. So Web3, I would say, is more of a philosophy. The philosophy that the web and the internet as we know it, it should be more open. It should be owned by the consumers, which is us, the users. It should be more transparent. There should be less intermediation and there should be more direct connects. I think that's the philosophy on which it runs. So, but I'm sure this also is, if it is not Latin and Greek, it is still some British English, right? So let me just give a few examples here. Now think about an online transaction as you do today. If you want to go and say buy a mixer online, you have to trust the intermediary. So you have to go online and you have to trust either an Amazon.com, you have to go on Amazon.com and you know that yes, Amazon.com has verified sellers. So if a seller is selling me a mixer on Amazon.com, I can trust this seller. If I buy from them, I will get service. It will be a genuine product, so on and so forth. Similarly, if you think about the sellers, right? If a seller wants to sell, today if they start selling to everybody in a very direct fashion, the bigger problem is, I don't know whether I'm going to get my money from them. What if this guy doesn't pay me? What if they put a fraud case against me? There are so many risks that the sellers also have. So today in the Web2 world, we typically rely on these intermediaries. But the Web3 world is slightly different. What Web3 believes is that users should be in charge of their own transactions. So what it means is in Web3, everybody has a verified identity and a reputation attached to them. So when I go to Web3, I don't need to rely on any third party. I directly can buy from a seller, and I am assured that this is a genuine seller. The genuineness comes from the very design of how Web3 works.
Let's quickly touch upon, people are hearing Web3, but what's Web 1 and Web 2? Let's quickly talk about Web 1 was the read-only internet, which we had in the in the mid-90s when we had those 56 KB modem connections, where maybe you log on to a website and it's just a static website, right? There was no social media then. Web 2 was fueled by social media platforms where it's read and write internet, where you could communicate effectively. It's not one-way communication, but there's social media, there's e-commerce. And Web 3 is read, write, and own. So today you don't own your own identity because Facebook owns, Facebook can deplatform you, Instagram can deplatform you, Twitter can ban you. If they've done that with the former president of the US, they can definitely do it to you and me. So Web3 is essentially read, write, and own, where you own your own identity on the internet. But what does all this have to do with travel, right? Like, people must have probably heard of NFTs. In 2021, they were the rage. A lot of celebrities like Amitabh Bachchan, Salman Khan were coming out with NFTs. What is an NFT and how is this useful for someone in the travel industry?
Sure. So let's first spend some time on what exactly is an NFT. So an NFT, you can think of it simply as record of ownership. And as I said, in Web3, you can verify every transaction, which means that if you own an NFT, there's verification that you own it. So you don't need any third party to say, okay, this person owns this.
Is verification on a blockchain?
It's verification
And
on
a
the blockchain.
blockchain is
Yes.
nothing but a fancier name for a database, except that the database is centralized. You go to a bank, the bank has a database, but that database is operated by the bank. But in the case of a public blockchain, like a Bitcoin blockchain or an Ethereum blockchain, this is a public ledger, which means that anybody has access to that. And it's immutable, which means once transactions are recorded on that database slash blockchain, they can't be erased. So an NFT is just proof of ownership,
exactly,
which is recorded on a blockchain.
on the blockchain. So the advantage here, as Rahul, you rightly mentioned, that you cannot erase anything from the blockchain, which means that if I have sold an NFT to Rahul, everybody in the world now knows that Rahul owns the NFT. I cannot claim I did not sell it to him, and he cannot claim that he does not own it any longer. So that's the advantage, and that is what enables direct, there is no sellers and buyers on blockchain. It's just individuals. Today I can be the seller, tomorrow Rahul can be the seller, and both of us are validated and verified.
So NFTs, at least in 2021, they found several use cases where you could own certain moments, right? So that's one of the use cases of an NFT. So in the case of sports, MS Dhoni's last, that World Cup winning 6, right? Maybe you can own that moment, and that NFT can give you access to maybe, the selection of the team jersey for the Indian cricket team or other special moments. It's just how you collect certain art. It's just cool to have those moments that you own. There's also use cases in fashion where you could own an NFT, you could own digital clothing. Fashion brands could maybe give you a physical piece of a certain clothing backed by an NFT. So your NFT probably becomes that proof of ownership. Today you buy a Rolex watch, you get a certain piece of paper saying that this is the warranty and this is authentic. That will soon become an NFT where it's backed by an NFT. So instead of getting that piece of paper, you get an NFT for that Rolex watch as well. So you know that, okay, this is authentic, and everybody, when you go to sell it or if you have to show it to people, you can just say that, look, this is authentic. So it's a proof of authenticity in that case. But in the case of travel, how are NFTs being used?
So before we get to travel, Rahul, one important thing is what we have seen on the NFT world is just tip of the iceberg. So today what has happened is only people who were into the Web3 world, typically gamers, they got exposed to NFTs. So today most of the NFTs are digital art of some form, right? But if you think about it, as I said, NFT is nothing but proof of ownership. It can prove any kind of ownership. And just to give you an example completely outside of the domains that we talk about, government of Andhra Pradesh is now using the blockchain to record ownership of land. So that actually tells us how it can be used for travel also. Because if you can now use it for real estate, you can use it for ownership of everything in travel. What about ownership of travel tickets? You can use airline tickets as NFTs. You can use hotel room bookings as NFTs. You can even have your private moments. For example, you went on a holiday and you took a couple of stunning photographs which are very unique. The fact that you own them can be recorded as NFTs, and the ownership is immutable, as Rahul explained. So there's a huge amount of potential for NFTs in the travel space in almost every sphere that you can think of. I think there are many other use cases that we can
You mentioned hotel room bookings and you mentioned airline tickets, right? That your airline ticket can be an NFT. Walk us through how this would work, because today when I book an airline ticket or if I book a hotel room, the ticket is in my name, the PNR is in my name, the hotel booking is in my name. Now, how do I own that? Because I can't sell it to anybody else, right? Because it's attached to my name.
Correct. So there are two parts to the whole ownership thing, right? One is that, as you said, even today, technically it is in your name. But imagine somebody could go and fake your identity and they could still take advantage of that booking. But with an NFT, they can't do that because these NFTs are typically attached to a wallet that you control. So it's not possible for somebody to fake and to do fraud with your bookings. But more importantly, the second part is fractional ownership. So what NFTs have enabled today, if some of you have followed the news about NFTs, you would have heard that a particular piece of digital art got sold for millions of dollars, which means that if you own an NFT, you can also sell it. If you can sell it, it can be traded. So that's the thing that probably you can do. If you own a hotel reservation, maybe you could trade it with a friend. And the trading will be on the blockchain, so it will be completely transparent. Everybody will know about it, and it will be convenient for everyone. And more importantly, when you do the sell, or rather when you do the buy, whichever it is, again, as I said, you don't have to rely on any third party. Because it's an NFT you own, you could do a peer-to-peer transaction between two people, and that's what is the advantage of having bookings in form of NFTs.
Okay, so let's say I'm traveling to London 15 days from now, and I've made my hotel booking online, and that hotel booking online, when I do it today on current platforms, booking platforms, they allow me to maybe pay at the venue, when I check in, and there's a name, my name Rahul Jaktiani is attached to that booking ID, right? So walk us through how this would work. Let's say I want to purchase a hotel room for one night in the UK or Dubai or wherever I'm traveling, and I want that as an NFT. Now, what are the benefits of owning that as an NFT? Yeah, I get the fact that you own that hotel room, but let's say I decide to maybe cancel my booking, right? Today, most people will cancel their bookings, and some of these platforms allow you to do that, unless it's a non-refundable booking, maybe during peak season. Like, for example, people who are coming to OTM from other cities, we're in BKC, there are two hotels here, Trident, and then there's Sofitel, which is probably going to be packed, and they would have hiked up their rates as well, right? So let's say someone booked a hotel room at Trident maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago as an NFT. How would that work in case they can't make it? And what are some of the other benefits of owning it as an NFT? And how can hotels start offering their inventory as an NFT?
So think about it this way. You did this booking, say, 3 weeks ago, and maybe 2 days before you realized that you had a health issue and you couldn't travel. Now, what do? Today you go and you probably pay a cancellation fees. Especially if you cancel it very closer to the date, you probably have to pay almost 50 or 80% as cancellation fees. Instead, what if I wanted to come to the same event, but I decided at the last moment. I wasn't decided, I decided last moment. Now your booking is available. What you could do is you could trade that booking with me. But here, obviously, everybody from the hospitality industry would say, hey, I don't want people to trade amongst themselves without me knowing about it. Now, that's what can be enabled because this is all on the blockchain. Now, the hotel can also come to know that there is a trade happening, and the hotel can also get advantage from that trade. So rather than it being a cancel, basically, if you think about it, it's a win-lose game that we are playing today. Somebody cancels, they have to pay the cancellation fees. Instead, why not make it a win-win game, right? You are able to sell it to me. I get the booking. I am able to stay. You got your money back. And the hotel also got some advantage of the trading that was happening. Just like, you get commissions on bookings. The hotel could also get a commission on the trading that is happening. So that's the advantage of doing this in NFT formats. And I think it's a journey that hotels have to go through, but it's not too complex. I don't think it's very complex.
So you're saying if I've booked a hotel at the Trident, if I've booked a hotel room at Trident, say I'm coming for OTM, and closer to the date I realize that I can't make it, and and the room is, let's say, 10,000 rupees per night, and instead of paying a cancellation fee of 3,000-4,000 rupees, I can now sell that hotel booking to someone like you who's decided at the last moment to show up.
Yes.
And am I selling it at the same price? Am I selling it at a lower price? Or can I even sell it at a higher price?
You could do all of them depending on the demand. And what can be done, because NFTs are run on the blockchain, and I don't know if people here understand how blockchains work, but typically you can program these blockchains. So the hotel can say that, okay, my running price today is 25,000 rupees. So even if Rahul chooses to sell it to Nikhil, he cannot sell it below 25,000. That can also be enabled. So if that kind of a rule is in place from the hotel side, you can sell, but then you have to sell it at a particular price. You cannot sell it lower than that. And that's, of course, important because hotels don't want anybody undercutting their fares.
Right. And when I sell it to you, the hotel automatically gets a commission as well.
Of course,
and that's
yes.
enabled in the smart contract or the code.
It's all automated.
It's all automated.
Yes.
So the moment I sell it to you on this third-party platform, the hotel automatically gets
yes.
small percent
They
of the
get a
revenue.
commission on
They get a
that
commission,
trade that's
maybe a
happening.
couple of percentage points
Yes.
or whatever.
Yes.
So hotels, and it's probably very similar with airlines as well.
Yeah.
What do hotels and airlines need to change at their back end to enable this sort of feature? What sort of technology do they need to incorporate, because they have their existing SaaS models that they work with, SaaS systems that they work with, right? The softwares that they work with at their backend for booking. Um, so, what do they need to do in order to, let's say, start experimenting with a technology like this?
So to be honest, it depends on the stack that the hotel is already using. If the hotel has already gone onto a program. So the hospitality industry has many flavors. So some of the hotels are still using technologies that are about 15 years old, but some of them had already started some modernization programs. Unfortunately, the pandemic put some of these projects on hold, but most of the hotels are now today connected to the online world, to the OTAs in some way or the other. If they are connected to the OTAs, I would say they don't need to change anything. So they can plug into the blockchain environment through systems that we are building at Book, and we will consume inventory through the same channels. But yes, there might be hotels which are not completely online that are currently working on an allocation model. They can still work on this model, but they will not be able to reap enough benefits of NFTization of their bookings. So there, I would suggest that hotels should probably get fully on board. Their system should completely connect to the online model, and they should start supporting these features. Most importantly, they need to start supporting features like name change and tradable inventory. Or also revenue management features also need to be implemented by hotels. I think, but I would say most hotels are either already there or they are working towards it. It's probably just a matter of accelerating their change cycles.
I would say that whether it's hotels or airlines, OTAs have a large piece of the pie, right? Probably, I don't know the exact figures, but maybe 60 to 70% of the bookings are taken care of by current OTAs. So it's not economically feasible for hotels or airlines to let go of that business, because there is a certain learning curve with Web3 and adopting these new technologies. So what is the right strategy for an airline or a hotel? Are you saying that, let's say, if it's a 100-room hotel, or if the airline has maybe 300 seats, they open up a small portion of the inventory to be traded? Is that a better option?
So the short answer is yes, of course. I mean, they can do that. But let me also say that this is not an either or sort of a scenario. Hotels can continue to distribute to their existing partners. It could be OTAs, it could even be corporates and travel agents, offline travel agents, and they could also be on the tradable model. Both can coexist. I mean, it's similar to saying, if Trivago came, did it destroy Expedia, Booking.com, or Make My Trip? It did not. It is just another way of distributing your prices. So hotels should look at this similarly. You can continue to distribute to multiple channels together, and then let it evolve. My guess is that over a period of time, even the established OTAs would want tradable inventory to come in. So they will probably plug into the blockchain, and they will start consuming tradable inventory as well, apart from the regular inventory that they are consuming.
I'm playing devil's advocate here, right? So if I'm an airline or a hotel, and I know Nikhil is going to come in at the last minute, and I can probably sell that same hotel room at a higher price, A. And B, if Rahul is canceling, I'm getting a cancellation fee, so I'm getting revenue. So what is my incentive as a hotel or an airline to adopt blockchain technology? Because I'm already making money out of this.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting point. But the thing is, I don't think the percentage of cancellations is so huge that hotels see it as a revenue stream. Even airlines, they don't see it as a revenue stream. And look at the flip side of it. Every time there's a cancellation, you're also risking that cancellation may not result into another booking. Sometimes I may be assured, like an event like this is happening, a BKC hotel may be assured that they will get another booking. But what about a hotel in, say, Andheri East? They may or may not get it. So it's a question of balance as to how they want to see it. That's the first thing. And second thing is, as I said, on every trade, the hotel also is going to get a commission. So that's assured revenue. That's clearly assured revenue. The third part is, you need to think of this as a stock market. When you have a marketplace, it helps you discover what your ideal pricing should be. Maybe you've been selling your rooms cheaper than what they actually can fetch. When you allow a market to operate, you'll be able to discover what is the actual price that your hotel rooms can command on a particular period during a particular season. And those are the long-term advantages that the hotels will need to look at to adopt this. At the same time, I would say in the short term, as you just mentioned some time back, We are not saying it's a one winner take all kind of an approach. You can allocate a small slice of the inventory as a hotel to the tradable side, and you can continue to operate the rest of the inventory as the existing one. And over a period of time, as you start seeing the trends changing, you could gradually transition into what we are trying to present here.
Now, the example I gave was OTM and Trident Hotel or Sofitel Hotel because this is a big trade show and thousands of people have come here, right? Let's say it's an average, normal family of 4 traveling on their holiday, or maybe they're traveling not in the peak season because bookings happen that time as well. It's just that hotels aren't necessarily full always, right? Maybe they're 60% occupied or 70% occupied. So how would this work then? Because if there's availability of inventory with a particular airline or with a certain hotel, and if it's only 50% occupied, then why do I need to go and buy the hotel as an NFT instead of just going directly to the hotel website or to the OT and then purchase it? Because there's a lot of inventory available.
So, we've just been thinking about the trading aspect, but if you think about it, as an NFT, it is a proof of ownership. So in case of, for example, let's take the example of hotels, we believe that NFTs will become proof of stay. Now that can be used in a very innovative way. What can be done is you could attach your holiday photographs to that NFT and imagine how that could transcend into, say, the virtual reality world. So yesterday I had a guest at home and they were showing me photographs of a particular museum from Bangkok, which is a VR-enabled museum. So they said, when we went there, we were standing next to a photograph, but when the photograph came to us, we were actually holding the trunk of an elephant. Now, those are the kind of applications that would probably happen if you were to start using NFTs for all kinds of things. From a hotel perspective, if it is an NFT-based booking, you can drive a lot other transactions. For example, what about being able to get verified reviews on your property? You can get a verified review on your property and you can be absolutely sure that this is not a fake profile somewhere posting a review. This is not your competitor trying to malign you. This is indeed a genuine customer who owns the NFT. Today, it's very difficult to do that because you have to rely on third parties. In the Web3 world, there's no third party. Everybody is owning their own identity.
That's very interesting because I'm just, there's a light bulb just went off in my head that this can also be used as a loyalty program. So let's say I've stayed in a particular hotel and I've purchased the NFT for that particular hotel and I've stayed and had a good time and I've checked out, but I still own that NFT in my Web3 wallet. Now, that becomes a way for the hotel to directly interact with me without any third-party intermediary like Facebook or Instagram or any of these other platforms. Maybe they can offer me a discount directly the next time I'm traveling, or maybe they can
Not just you.
Yeah.
I mean, the hotel could tell that if you own an NFT of my hotel, if you've stayed with us in past, if you refer your friend, I will give a discount to your friends. So you become like a micro-influencer there. And all that can be verified because this is NFT that you own. It's not just
Or maybe you
normal
earn a
booking.
commission directly as well, right?
Of course.
So you kind of like become a sales agent for the hotel
Yes.
by referring, and all this is done through Web3
Through
blockchain
Web3,
technology.
the blockchain, exactly.
But Web3 is a little intimidating for a lot of people as well, and Web3 blockchain crypto, they've gotten a bad rep recently, especially with what's happened in the market in the past few months, right? So anyways, we're in a bear market. And then we had the whole FTX saga where people bought some crypto and, the whole exchange went bust and people lost their money. Now, events like these, I'm sure you agree, give a very bad name to the industry. And the regulators around the world don't look at it very favorably. What are some of the challenges one would face when we are trying to convince, retail customers to adopt this technology and also have hotels and airlines to adopt these technologies? Is there an issue in terms of jurisdiction?
I would say there are two distinct problems. So one which you mentioned that, from a perception perspective, when you start talking about Web3, when you start talking about blockchain, everybody relates it to cryptocurrencies. The volatility of cryptocurrencies is quite known. Cases like FTX kind of give it a bad rap. So one thing that's very important and which we engage a lot in is in educating people that Web3 cryptocurrencies is one of the applications of Web3, and anything else, for example, what we are doing in form of NFTs and hotel room bookings, it's a completely different application. They are not necessarily related. You could be buying an NFT using your credit card, and it would not be a cryptocurrency of any form. And therefore, from a jurisdiction perspective, say from the perspective of governments who are really concerned about, say, AML kind of risks that are there, none of that will come into picture.
AML is anti-money laundering.
Anti-money laundering, right? So the non-cryptocurrency use cases of the blockchain have nothing to do with some of these dangerous problems that we come to hear of. The other part here is that there is a huge amount of infrastructure that is getting built today on the Web3 layer. So we are, to be honest, we are in the where the internet was in the late 1990s, that is where we are. In fact, the current market slump is very similar to the dot-com bust that happened. So all this infrastructure that is being created, it will help normal people to not really think about Web3. They can actually come and buy a hotel room, get an NFT, without really understanding that they were interacted with the blockchain.
So you're saying that technology is being built in front of us, and we are where the internet was perhaps in 1995 when we had those dial-up modems. वो phone चला तो internet बंद, internet चला तो phone बंद. That sort of system, right?
Correct.
And very, very slow connections, and probably some of the same concerns
and
that
the
people
simile
had.
is quite apt. The blockchain is quite slow today, and again, there is a lot of innovation happening there. So Polygon, which is Polygon Ventures, is also one of our investors, and Polygon is one of the blockchain solutions that's specifically working on this problem of speeding up the blockchain. So we are actually in that 256 kbps or maybe 56 kbps world of the blockchain, but very soon, and thankfully Web3 is moving much faster. So maybe in another year or so, you will see the 2 Mbps or the 4 Mbps, 10 Mbps lines coming up.
So yeah, that's what, I mean, if you think even just 15 odd years ago, before Flipkart and all these guys came in, people were scared to transact online and put their credit card online. They were like, okay, maybe I'll do it for a train ticket or a plane ticket, because in the early 2000s, you had your Make My Trips that came along. So that's an unemotional purchase, right? You don't need to see, touch, feel your air ticket or your train ticket. But anything that needs to be physically felt, shoes, clothes, everything, people were like, I'm not going to put in case there's a fraud. And what we've seen in the pandemic especially is that everything from our groceries to everything we buy is just done online. So you're saying there's a learning curve with this and there's a certain adoption curve with this as well. So while this is new, the technology is being built, mistakes are being made, projects are crashing. But this also happened 20 odd years ago with the dot-com boom and bust. In 99, 2000, you had lots of projects that came and went. But then you had Amazon that came out of it, and Facebook that came out of it, and Google that came out of it. So the whole space moved forward. So this is the natural evolution of any emerging technology, that you're going to have sometimes a lot of unscrupulous actors as well. But that's just par for course, because then eventually the technology moves forward and these bad actors are kind of like,
Absolutely.
relegated to the background.
And in fact, some of these changes, so especially for a country like India, some of these changes have happened recently. You had UPI coming in. In the last 5 years, UPI has simply become an indispensable tool. Now, the good part is that the Web3 world in India is taking advantage of all these things. So today, technically, you can buy a digital art NFT by paying money via UPI. There are these technologies available even today. So some of these gallops that India has made in technology are helping us get onto this Web3 bandwagon very fast. In fact, a very good part is that as far as Web3 developers are concerned, India has the largest number of Web3 developers across the globe. We have more Web3 developers in this country than the United States. So we are really on the forefront of this particular revolution. And I think this is one revolution that we should really capitalize on, because this can help us get to the $5 trillion economy maybe. That's the aspiration all of us are chasing.
Another term that's entered our lexicon recently is metaverse. Everybody must have heard of metaverse, right? In fact, I've written an article on the metaverse in this month's Vistara magazine. So if any of you guys are traveling via Vistara, do check it out. There's a whole 3 or 4 page spread on the metaverse and the different use cases in various industries. Now, one of the things that metaverse is obviously, not confused with, but kind of like related to, is having a VR headset or AR technology. But I'd argue that you know, at shows like these, travel and tourism boards are already having a VR headset where you can maybe feel like you're walking on a street in Paris or, you know, you're at some museum in Italy. So is that what the metaverse is, or there's a lot more to the metaverse than just maybe wearing a VR headset? And nobody wants to do that for more than 10, 15 minutes because it gives me a headache.
Right. So I would actually say we are in, just like there was a Web 1, we are in Metaverse 1, which is exactly what you mentioned. There's a VR headset which I am wearing, and I'm just consuming some passive content which has been prepared by somebody else. So we will very soon enter the Metaverse 2, wherein you are both the consumer and the creator of that content, which is what I was mentioning, that you go on a holiday, you record those moments, maybe in your camera, you take a couple of videos on your phone, which you anyways today do, and that can be fed into some of these metaverse things, and you can come back from that holiday and put on your VR headset, and you can experience the holiday all over again. Rather than just flipping through the photos, you could actually be living those moments again. So you would both own as well as you would create and consume that content. So that's what we are gunning for. And probably, you know, think about things like, if you share it with your friends, even though your friend was not there with you for the holiday, they could also enjoy the holiday along with you. They could also have the same experience. And it could lead to a completely different way of how we enjoy what we do when we travel.
So can metaverse democratize travel as well? For example, not everyone can afford to take a European holiday, or someone who's a senior citizen who may not be able to travel, but maybe can just sit in his or her room and experience what it's like to be on Oxford Street, or maybe take a bit of a roller coaster ride at Disneyland.
Exactly.
Are some of those things...
Definitely,
yeah?
definitely. And as I said,
but the hardware needs to be better, right?
The hardware needs to be better, and I think it will get better. Over a period of time, you could see VR capabilities, just like we have smart TVs today. You could have VR TVs coming up. So that's definitely something on the cards. Just one more plug I want to make is that all this also needs NFTs to be around. Because only when your booking is an NFT, only when your travel ticket is an NFT, that is when you can link these things. That is when you can start owning these experiences. So that ownership element comes from that NFT bit, and therefore NFT is very integral to the success of metaverse and travel also.
Yeah, there's also Millennium Hotels, which is a Singapore-based hotel. They're in New York, they're in Auckland, they're in Paris. They've done something very interesting. So they have a digital twin in the metaverse, and everyone's experimenting with this, right? So you can actually go in and experience the hotel in the metaverse. And I think, like, if you finish a tour of the hotel, you get an NFT, or you get a POAP, or you can, and you get some real world benefits in the actual hotel. So these are some of the areas where hotels are also experimenting, where they want to find new ways to engage with their audience. And yeah, so that's one of them. And Qatar Airways, I think, also has now, it's called Qverse, where you can experience their first class cabin and first class lounge in the metaverse. So if you Google Qverse, maybe there'll be a digital avatar that kind of takes you through the first class lounge in Qatar Airways.
So you mentioned the term POAP, that stands for Proof of Participation. So imagine...
Proof of Attendance Protocol.
Attendance and yeah. So imagine, I was able to give out proof of POAPs today, which unfortunately I cannot. But imagine I could give an NFT POAP to each one of the people sitting here, and I would tell them that if you hold this particular POAP, I would give you a $10 discount to book on our website.
Okay,
I mean, that would be cool.
What does a POAP look like? My understanding is that a POAP is like a digital version of a fridge magnet, right? So we go to different countries. A lot of people collect like a fridge magnet from different countries, or they'll collect shot glasses, maybe with like, the Eiffel Tower and, those sort of kind of like monuments. And it's just a cool flex, right? You have friends who come over and you can say, okay, I've been to these countries and I collect shot glasses. So is POAP a digital version of that? Is it like a digital fridge magnet of sorts which you just collect in your wallet?
It is, but the thing is, as I said, since it's on the blockchain, you own it. So unlike a fridge magnet that you could just give to your friend, you don't give it to your friend. When you have to give it to your friend, you have to do a blockchain transaction for that POAP to be transferred to somebody else. And that's what enabled applications like giving out discounts using the POAP. So I now know that, yes, you were the guy who attended my session today, and that's why you are the only person who will get that discount. You cannot pass that on to somebody else unless and until you register a transaction on the blockchain.
Okay, so maybe OTM could have a POAP where people can come in and they can just scan a QR code and they get that POAP. Now that's proof that they've attended this particular event and it's in their wallet, which is on their phone.
Yes.
And maybe for the next year, if you've been to OTM this year and you have the POAP, maybe you get a discount at the Trident Hotel next door. There could be many different use cases, right? Or maybe you're part of a lucky draw where you get a free ticket or whatever to go to any of these destinations that are displaying here.
Yeah.
One of those.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
interesting. So yeah, I mean, all this is well and good, but there are lots of people here who don't know where to get started, right? So what are some of the actionable steps that people here can take to just get started without being too intimidated and get started on their Web3 journey? Perhaps there's a blog, or perhaps there are certain social media accounts they can follow to understand what's happening in this space.
Sure, yeah. In fact, the best part about Web3 is that it is completely open and permissionless. That you don't need permission to be aware of this. So you can just go online and start. So I would say one of the best resources for beginners is YouTube. Just go to YouTube and start following videos. Polygon, as I said, is a very useful resource. Their YouTube channel is very useful. Twitter is a very nice place. I mean, if you are on Twitter, or even if you are not, you can just follow some of those accounts. You could follow our account, Book Trips. We keep talking about Web3 in the travel space a lot. But then there are so many others. You can follow influencers in the travel space. Maybe Rahul, your Instagram account, your Twitter accounts. So it's just go online and start learning about things. Just start discovering things. The only recommendation I would have is that unlike a normal social media reading, this will probably require you to go one level deeper. So you'll have to spend maybe, if you spend say 30 seconds to a minute on an Instagram post, probably here you should be spending say 2 minutes to 5 minutes on a YouTube video to understand this in slightly more depth. That will give you a better way of learning this whole thing.
I would actually recommend a couple of YouTube channels. There's one called 99 Bitcoins, which gives you a lot of, breaks down a lot of these concepts in like 2 minutes. So that's easy to understand. I do some of this on my personal Instagram page, where rahul.jaktiani, where I'm talking about different use cases of Web3. And there's also a news platform called Cointelegraph. So you can maybe go to cointelegraph.com, and they have some of these learning modules as well. So yeah, I'd recommend these 3 or 4. I've done a bunch of stuff for money control as well. So if you just Google my name with money control, there are lots of these Web3 videos where I kind of break down what is Ethereum, what is Bitcoin, what are central bank digital currencies. So it's a good way to just get started for those who are not familiar with this space at all. And it's at a very basic 101 level, or at least that's what I've tried to do. But on that note, I'd like to have the floor open for any questions if someone might have, because we're going to wrap up pretty soon.
Hi, this is Jessie, and I from a corporate, and it was a very interesting fire chat between both of you. Something new I had never heard, but I just wanted to check with you all, how does this impact the corporates or the travel agencies?
So it is going to be an extremely useful thing for the corporates and travel agencies. So if you think about, let's take a corporate example. Corporates today also negotiate rates with hotels, and there are cases where sometimes those rates might get misused. If instead you are using an NFT to distribute, so imagine every employee of the corporate has an NFT sitting in their wallets. Now, nobody can misuse that particular NFT. It is only when they are booking for themselves will they be able to get access to corporate rates. Otherwise, they will not be able to use it for any other purpose. If the company policy allows them to use it to book for their family members, they can do it. And even that can be programmed into the blockchain using smart contracts. So it actually gives a very strong control if hotels were to distribute their rates via NFTs even to corporates. Coming to travel agents.
But it's through the TMC, right? It's a tool. The tool is what is to be used by the corporate.
Correct. So the point is, you don't have to rely on a third-party tool, because as I said, since it's the blockchain, it is all peer-to-peer transactions. The hotel is one peer, on the other side is your employee. As long as the employee possesses the NFT, which is distributed by the corporate themselves, they will get access to the corporate rates. So it becomes very transparent, very traceable, and extremely, I would say, fraud-proof. When we come to travel agents, I think travel agents will actually have a very big opportunity with NFT-based bookings coming in, because travel agents are the guys who understand the industry very well. They know when is it that that say footfall peaks in a particular destination. They know when is it that demand is going to come up. They are an integral part of doing group bookings for corporates. So for them, they will both be, I would say, if you think about an NFT-driven hotel room marketplace as a stock market, they are the market makers. They are the people who provide liquidity in this market, because they can play with the inventory and the supply far more efficiently than what an end customer can, because the end customer doesn't really understand the vagaries of the seasonality of the market. So for the travel agents, it's actually going to completely change their profile from what they are doing, which is simply providing services, to becoming intelligent marketplace players into the whole ecosystem.
Now, today, the way we are looking at the hotels itself, the rates are just very dynamic. I mean, it's so huge that, is this actually going to also destroy that negotiation power?
No, not
because
at all.
if it is going to get pre-booked and then probably, nearing the date, you're going to sell it at a higher price. Like he took an example, right? Rahul took about an example. So I'm just a little worried about that. Is that going to actually destroy, distract some of the market?
To give you a simile, I said, right, Trivago did not destroy a Make My Trip, right? It is just a different way of buying and selling that is happening. So again, we do not expect that hotels are going to put all their inventory on the block on day zero. I'm not going to sell all my hotel rooms three months prior. The hotel will still have to practice revenue management strategies. They will still have to decide at what rate to sell how much inventory. And plus, because all of this trading is happening on the blockchain, they will be able to put in proper rules. So they will be able to say, if my bar today is 25,000 rupees, I do not want to allow anybody to sell below that. So they can control everything in advance, and they can be in complete control of the inventory. I don't think this in any way changes what they are doing now. In fact, it gives them an additional mechanism to control how they are distributing their rates.
I'm Dr. Manohar Chikkarna Hulmane from Bangalore. We are operating the Travel and Tourism Academy, which will help the industry to adopt technology and also bring the updated knowledge. Your inputs have been very, very helpful. I think there is more that I'll be connecting you. But I have one question. You mentioned about, booking the hotel rooms and later selling it through the mechanism that you have suggested. Now, take the example, railway, I can't book and sell it to somebody. Same is the case with airlines and other things. Nobody will accept it. Is this going to have some regulatory implications? And tomorrow, what is the regulatory environment that's going to allow this kind of it? Firstly, industry should be ready, and then the regulation. How is the whole ecosystem is going to be in the adoption of this?
So one, it is a little early to say this. As on date, there is no regulatory challenge as on date. But yes, if the regulators want to get involved, yeah, I mean, then we have to engage with the regulators and see how it evolves. But the second side is that this is not something that's completely unique. If you look at how the travel trade operates today, even today, travel agents do block rooms and then they do, release them, they do resell. There are bed banks that are in operation even today who work on allocations. The thing is, today, a lot of this is a completely dark space. So once the hotel has given an allocation to a bed bank, the hotel is not aware where this inventory is going from here. With the blockchain, what can happen is that even though you have allocated this inventory, even though you have agreed on a particular rate contract, but every time it gets sold and resold, if it gets traded, the hotel is completely aware of each and every transaction, and they will also get a benefit, as I said, of every transaction that is happening. And that actually is far better for the regulator, because now the regulator doesn't need to enforce on the hotel to perform a physical KYC, because the KYC is already done at the point of sale. So, blockchain gives you those advantages. We also plan to tie up with certain KYC platforms on the blockchain to further strengthen this entire trading mechanism.
What is the kind of the present level of the system or the sources available for educating the user community, be it the hotel or the operators or even the consumers for that matter, at this moment? How do we take forward? What is the kind of a system that you recommend?
Yeah, so that's a challenge that we are also grappling with. So our initial take is that we will reach out to people who are already aware of the Web3 world. But then yes, the idea is to educate everybody else more and more about what this offers and how this works.
And speak at more platforms like OTM,
Yeah,
which
exactly.
allows us to reach out to people and really break down what this technology can do at a very basic granular level and educate the audience and also provide actionable steps to the audience where they can get started on their journey because it's going to work both ways. Thank you, guys. We're available in case someone has more questions, but I think the next panel is ready. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you.